Hey, thanks for listening to another episode of another microdose of Men Talking Mindfulness. Today I'm going to dive in and we're going to talk about why yoga. Like, what is yoga? What is it all about? What does it look like? What are the different types of yoga? How yoga can help you? What does yoga involve? We'll talk about what a good teacher can look like, what your practice can look like. And all of this is just to have a happier, healthier, and more harmonious way of being and way of living and a way of enjoying life. This is the first of the year that this episode is being released, so happy 2024, everybody. And maybe yoga has been something that's been on your radar for quite some time, and you've just been a little reluctant to step into the studio and try something new. I mean, change is very challenging for a lot of people, and yoga is definitely something that can be challenging. It's going to challenge you physically, mentally, emotionally. It's going to challenge your habits. It's going to help you see your habits. A great practice for habit recognition. It's a great practice that's going to help you change and transform. It's a great practice that's going to continually bring you a greater sense of clarity, a greater sense of calm, a greater sense of inner peace. It's going to help to get you to know yourself in a deep and meaningful way. It's going to help you see the blind spots that are continually self-sabotaging you. It's going to start to change you from the inside out, as it has for me in many, many ways. And we're going to talk about that today. So let's start with a quote by Satguru. He says, "Look in my eyes. I'm stoned. Never touched the substance, but I'm fully stoned all the time. I want you to understand that the greatest chemical factory on the planet is here in the human body. If you're a good manager of this, you can create any experience from within." And this is what the yoga practice is going to help you to do. It's not only going to help you unleash your mental and physical potential, but it's also going to help you eradicate all the things that are getting in the way of that potential. And this is why the yoga practice is so incredibly profound. This is why it's been around for thousands of years. It's an ancient practice, and it allows you to work with your inherent human engineering, again, to unleash the potential of your body and the mind, and helping you to access also this collective human potential as well. So it's not like we're all connected in some weird and deep and meaningful way, and I'm sure you've all experienced that collective energy at some point in your life. But there's also a lot of wisdom within that collective intelligence, a lot of wisdom within this higher source of energy that's of us, within us, and we're all connected to. And when you begin to meaningfully connect more deeply to yourself through these practices of yoga, then you can begin to access that wisdom, access that potential from within and without. And it's just to help you, again, to have a more happy, healthier, and harmonious life. So what is this yoga stuff all about? Well, it's an ancient practice, and it's basically a prescription of how to live by honoring your mind and your body and your soul. Most of us think of yoga as more of just the physical practice here in the West. And there is a physical practice to yoga, like the down dogs, the up dogs, going to the studio, hitting your mat, sweating a little bit, strengthening and creating flexibility and stability in your body. But there's more to the yoga practice than just the physical practice. The physical practice is just a way to honor the body. We'll talk about what all these limbs kind of look like. And there's actually the yoga. It's a philosophy, is really what yoga is. It's a lifestyle that just like any lifestyle prescription, this one has 8 sutras. They call them 8 strings, or this is also known as the Eightfold Path. And these 8 limbs, I'll just go through them briefly here. It's a framework for spirituality and for a physical practice. And, when I say spirituality, this is not religious in any way. This is just helping. Think of spirit as energy. So anytime you hear spirit and it kind of sends you a trigger of like, oh, maybe it's the Holy Spirit, or maybe it's some other, whatever divine spirit, or some, spirit from some fable or something like that, or some story you've been told, think of spirit as energy. And this is going to help us to unleash and access our energy, is what really yoga does. But also to be more intentional about our physical and mental and emotional energy as well. So the 8 limbs, like here's the first one. The first one is called yama, and yama. These are just basic like ethical principles that guide our behavior towards others, and this includes like nonviolence, truthfulness, non-stealing, moderation, and non-possessiveness. The second one is niyama, and these are personal observances that help cultivate self-discipline and inner growth, such as cleanliness or contentment, self-study, reflection, self-discipline, and also surrendering to some sort of like higher power, some higher source, that divine infinite intelligence that you can think of as God, if you will, or Yahweh, or whatever. It's been described in so many different ways, or the soul is a good way to think of it, or so it's going to help us to get into that space, so just think of it this way, these first 2. If your mind and your morality aren't in check, then all the physical work that you do isn't going to make any difference. Your life choices, if you don't work within accordance of a natural law, you'll always be in a state of agitation and stress because you're constantly fighting against the current of life. This is going to help us to kind of get into a more relaxed state of being and kind of be with life and float and flow with life instead of always trying to fight the current. And when you fight the current, you're just going to lose. It's just going to create that agitation and that stress, and just takes a lot of unnecessary energy from us. So those are the first 2. The third limb here is asana, and the asana is the physical practice. This is the down dog and the up dog, and the half pigeon, or like a bridge pose, or whatever it is. And this practice, part of the practice, helps us to develop strength, flexibility, balance, focus, and a stability within the body as well. And if we don't honor this body, then it's going to break down. I like to think of our body as a car. It's a vehicle that we kind of drive and utilize to help navigate us and bring us from point A to point B, and to help us to do all the wonderful things that we are able to do as human beings. We're able to manipulate our environment and change things in our environment, and really, really powerful. But when you really have a good sense of strength and flexibility and stability, then you can really do a lot of great things, because your body is ready as well, not just your mind, and your emotions and are in check, and that sort of thing. So we must honor the body. But what fuels our body is this 4th limb, and it's called pranayama. And I know we've talked about this. We do every show with a little pranayama practice, little grounding and centering practice. And prana means energy, or spirit, right? Think of this as energy. But we're honoring the spirit, or activating, the yama, right? And yama also means control, right? So it's energy control. So if we get to know our breath and know that we can take deep breaths and manipulate our breath and utilize different pranayama practices they can do a lot of different things for us. They can help us to focus, help us to relax, help us to sleep better, help us to activate, help us to create more clarity and creativity. There's all different practices that help us to do that. But we have to get to know our breath is number one, and create a relationship with your breath, and know that your breath is incredible. And I say often that you really want to establish the most profound relationship with anything in the world, then establish a meaningful relationship with your breath and understand all the different ways you can control it. And in the process of controlling your breath, that's when you can start to get more intentional by controlling your mind, controlling your body, controlling, how you are in the world. And being with the world as it is instead of trying to control it all the time. And the pranayama, breath control practices, will help you to do that. And the next 3 limbs here, they're all kind of different. They kind of lead us into a deeper meditative and focused and more present place. And the first one is, this is the fifth limb. This is the fifth sutra of the yoga philosophy, and this is called Pratyahara. This limb focuses on withdrawing the senses from the external distractions and turning inward, cultivating a state of inner awareness and connection. This is just helping us to be less reactive and to be detached and unattached from the outside world. We've talked many times in the show about the STIA process. We have stimulus, thought, emotion, action. And if we're continually very easily activated and agitated by whatever the stimulus is, then that stimulus is creating a thought, or creating the same thought or the same habit of thinking, and that creates the same emotion, and therefore creates the same action, and therefore we continually create the same results in our life. So by pulling away from our senses and things that are uncomfortable for us, or things that even we start to crave, and if we are able to get intentional, be grounded, be centered, and realize like, oh, that's just a desire, that's just a craving, or that's just a sound that I don't need to enroll in and think about and criticize and let it agitate and agitate me in any way, or unearth me or unground me in any way. Really, really powerful. And this is what meditation and focusing is going to help us to do. And the physical practice of yoga helps us to focus the body. The pranayama and breath practices help us to focus the breath and focus our energy. So we're going to have a better opportunity to stay unattached and to stay centered and stay in the middle, and to be with the middle way, which is the Buddha's first teaching, who's just another teacher, just like Jesus Christ, or just like, Muhammad, or just like Gandhi, or MLK, or all these great wise teachers that are of this world and have left us all of these wonderful messages. The sixth limb on the path, it's called dharana. This is the practice of concentration and sharpening of the mind, where we learn to focus our attention on a single point, whether it's an object or a mantra, or so we're really training the mind here to be steady and get still. Because with a steady mind and a controlled mind, we're able to drop into the gap between our thoughts, and that's where the middle is. That's where the potential. That's where the opportunity is. That's where we want to continually live in between all of this stimulus, and just drop in and be grounded, be present in the moment as it is. Then we get into the seventh one, and this is dhyana, and this is the state of meditation. So it's not just, so meditation is a practice, but the state of meditation is where we're always in this dynamic relationship with the world, fully present, and of the self, in the sense of, right, we're calm, cool, connected, creative, confident, courageous, compassion, curious. Right, we're really in that self, and that self energy that I talked about in the microdose before this one. Know thyself. So go back and listen to that, because all this stuff is so incredibly related to the whole idea of knowing yourself. But how do you get to know yourself? You must practice, and yoga is a fantastic method and a fantastic philosophy and lifestyle that's going to help you access that self. And to live in this meditative state, in the sense you're not like walking around in meditation. You're being in the world, fully present to what is going on in the moment. And that's not completely attainable all the time. They say before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. It's how you do things. It's how you're chopping the wood and carrying the water that makes a difference. With your experience on earth. And the last one here, the last limb, is samadhi. And this is the ultimate goal of yoga. It's a state of complete absorption and oneness with the object of your meditation, where the practitioner experiences a profound sense of unity and transcendence. So, we're able to access this state of samadhi. I have through practicing, and it's an incredibly profoundly blissful state of being that I've experienced with a tremendous amount of gratitude comes through, a tremendous amount of peacefulness and joy and bliss. really, really profound states, but you only get there by practicing. And it's not like it always lasts and you're there forever and you just become this incredibly saintly kind of person. No. But I have, after having reached that state, I know that I have the ability to be in that state. All right, let's keep talking about the yoga and the yoga lifestyle. And what I'm going to continually refer to, for the rest of this microdose is really the physical, mental, and emotional practices that are part of the yoga tradition. And I'm really going to also focus on just like the physical practice, the asana practice that I mentioned. So really the movement practice, like being in the body. So really exercising your car and changing the tires and, giving a nice little oil change and, cleaning the interior and, and the exterior as well. So that's what I'm going to refer to as we kind of continue to roll with this microdose. So, what do you need to practice? Like, we need an open mind, and the willingness to learn, the willingness to be humble, the willingness to make the time and practice. This stuff doesn't happen unless you show up and make the time and do the best you can. The willingness to try is really important here. The willingness to listen and be humbled and be the student instead of trying to control everything. It's going to take some humility as well, because you will be challenged mentally, physically, and emotionally when you practice yoga, because as you continually shave off the layers of what they call sankhara, and sankhara are these layers of habits and energy and stuff that is kind of stuck with us through our lifetime. And if we haven't practiced and we don't get in our body enough, we just have these kind of layers of stress and anxiety that have just kind of been calcifying, for years or decades potentially. So as you get deeper into your practice, as you get deeper into your body, as you get to know your breath, as you get to know your mind through meditation, a lot of these layers of stress and anxiety, the sankhara, come to the surface, and it can be very uncomfortable. But if you continually work with them long enough and not be scared of them and be with them, then you can overcome, you can triumph beyond these sankhara, these sometimes very old layers of stress and anxiety and trauma that's kind of already locked in the body. The yoga practice, especially the physical and the pranayama and the mental focusing practice of meditation, helps you to eradicate. First, brings them to the surface and helps to eradicate that suffering that's inside of us. The body keeps the score, and that's just the way it goes. Here's some common misconceptions that you probably all have heard, and something that I've been working against for a very long time as I got my first yoga certification back in 2009, and I've been trying to bring these practices not just to, a yoga community, a thriving yoga community here in the city, but trying to get these practices off the mat and into the office, into the conference room, into the board of directors meetings, because they really make an incredible difference. And you can practice yoga anywhere. It doesn't have to be a full-on, grab your mat and get a bunch of blocks kind of practice. It could just be taking a couple breaths and walking in this world more mindfully. So first common misconception is, I can't do yoga because I can't touch my toes. That's just absolute BS. It's like, how are you going to develop any flexibility if you don't take time to access flexibility, to practice flexibility, to stay in your body, to create that flexibility, so it's, but also it's not just flexibility in the body, it's flexibility in the mind. There's another thing about yoga is just stretching. That's absolute BS as well. There's a tremendous amount of strength that I didn't know was even going to be part of a yoga practice until I started practicing. I was a big kind of muscle guy, from my, mid-20s all the way into my mid-30s, and I would just always be going to the gym and pumping iron, which is healthy for me. But I was lacking the flexibility that the body needs as well to really be aligned and attuned, to that human engineering and to your human potential. And yoga helped me to do that, because it gave me a deeper enduring strength that I didn't know I needed. I thought like, hey, I have a big chest. I can move a lot of weight on my upper body and stuff, so I'm strong. And then, I'm holding poses for like a minute in this yoga practice, and my arms are shaking, and I feel so weak. And when I look like I'm so strong. So it's pretty remarkable what yoga can do for the body. Yoga is religious. I kind of tapped into that earlier. It's not. It's think of spirituality as you changing your energy and optimizing your energy and eradicating energy that it gets in the way of you accessing your human potential. Those are some common misconceptions. Here's another one. Yoga is just for relaxation. I mean, yes, it's going to help you to naturally relax, but it's going to help you to optimize. It's going to help you to also energize you as well, not just to relax you. It's going to help relax the mind and the body, and then it starts to bring forth that all those wonderful chemicals that begin to access and optimize your human potential. There's also part of this practice. It's not just a fast-paced digital or fast-paced physical practice. There's like a yin and a yang. So there's like a rhythm repetition part of the practice called the yang part, where you're kind of sequencing from pose to pose to pose. And then there's also a yin, a Y-I-N, finding the other side, which is like more about time and pressure. It helps you to access a little more patience as you kind of sit in a pose for, a minute, 2, 3, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And let the pose kind of work on you instead of you working the pose. Whereas the yang practice, you're kind of working the pose and manipulating the body more. So many great gifts here in the yoga practice. So how will yoga help you? Well, mentally, it'll help you to, it'll show your relationship to you and your mind, the good and the bad. It just helps me to see, how I self-sabotage, the negative self-talk, the negativity bias that's already built in, the old concepts of who I am and how I should be doing things and, this social validation that I seek. Like there's so many, again, it's a great practice for also habit recognition. So if you're not happy with your habits, then I would take a yoga practice and stay with it for a long, long, long time because things change. Like we don't change overnight. I wish everyone's wishes we could. And, a lot of, it's not just kind of take a pill and all of a sudden you change. It's like, it's a practice. And it develops over time and it requires a lot of patience. And I often say Emerson's quote, adapt to the pace of nature. Her secret is patience. So you got to be patient with these practices. It's going to help also to understand yourself emotionally and help you to see where you start to let yourself off the hook or your emotional relationship to failure or lots of different things that's going to help you to see emotionally. Or how about it's going to see where I get frustrated because if I can't do something very well in the yoga practice and I want to, I get frustrated. But that's just, what's frustration? It's just an emotion driven by the ego. That's just going to take you away from the present moment and not allow you and prevent you from trying and being humbled and, being the student instead of trying to, be the master of something that you've never done before. It's just ridiculous. So it teaches me a lot of patience as well. I mean, what a gift that is, not just to yourself, but to other people when you're being more patient. It helps me to develop more self-compassion and self-kindness as I begin to become more aware of my self-sabotaging thinking and acting and ways of doing things and habits. Physically, it's going to create a tremendous amount of flexibility. It's going to increase your strength. It's going to help you to create a greater stability. That's what strength and flexibility, strength plus flexibility equals stability. And when you're stable, you're more balanced. Physically and mentally, you're more aligned. You're naturally more calm. This practice will help you stay out of, it's helped me develop a really healthy body so I'm out of chronic pain. Alleviates a lot of my emotional suffering when I do practice because to come back to that quote in the beginning, it helps me to access this the best chemical factory in the world, which is my body. And, when you begin to work with the body and begin to activate that chemical factory, you're rewarded. That's just the way it goes. I mean, you're also, well, not rewarded, but you're also have an experience when you sit all day and, you just binge watch whatever you're doing, or very lethargic and never really get to the gym, or never get to a yoga practice, or never even go for a walk. And that also the chemical factory starts to, deteriorate us and begin to tear us down from the inside because of, chemicals like cortisol and adrenaline and, all these hormones that run along with the negativity bias that we continually access when we are inactive, when we don't drive our car, when we don't tune up our car, and we let our car just kind of sit in the garage and or outside in the sun and just, bake and collect dust, and just atrophy from the inside. Socially, yoga's helped me tremendously as well. I'm more present, I'm more calm, I'm more relaxed, I'm more patient, as I mentioned before. Being present and being here keeps me out of the trappings of the mind and rolling in my mind's like what I should be doing, or the criticism of other people, the judgment of other people. What if I'm just really here and really present? And it allows me to remain objective instead of attached to, the desire of the ego. So what kind of classes do we have here when we talk about yoga? Well, there's flow style classes, which are very common in the West, or even a heated flow class. And, these flow classes is really with flow, what it means. It's like, it means like kind of it's a mental and physical state as well. So you didn't get into the state of flow by, using the breath and the body but it's also we're flowing physically in the material world through different poses. So one pose to the next pose to the next pose. And we're also flowing, so it doesn't feel like, flowing like water, right? So it doesn't feel stagnant or, it's kind of staccato. It's very legato in its nature, so very smooth and flowing. And I really enjoy flow classes. I teach flow classes. And they've been very helpful for people because it's almost like a dance with your breath and the body. And, if you're doing this in a public, class with other people around, it also adds a community vibe as well. So a lot of fun, and it teaches me so much about my mind. It helps me to release that competitive nature that's part of me, and it's probably a part of you, especially the guys that are listening out there. Again, it's not about, being good at this. How can you be good at anything if you've never done it before? So you got to let that go immediately and just be humbled, put yourself in this chair of the student and just keep doing the best you can and keep getting more humbled. If you really want to get humbled and see how tough you are, get into a heated flow class. Like when they crank the temperature up to, 90 plus degrees into the 100 degree mark. Wow. You talk about what a great environment to see you and your relationship to suffering. And unnecessary mental suffering. Yeah, your body's going to get tired. Your body's going to sweat. Heart rate is going to go up. You might feel like you're going to pass out here and there. Because that's been some of my experiences from folding over and standing up. And it's great. But then I really get to see who I can be, on the other side of all of my BS of the mind telling me I can't, or I should stop, or I should quit, or whatever, or complain in some ways. There's also a Hatha yoga class. This is a kind of a slower class. It's more of that kind of staccato kind of practice, like do this pose and then stop and do another one. But it's also a great meditative experience. And if you want to kind of tiptoe in, then I suggest going to a Hatha class, or definitely taking a beginner class or a beginner flow class, because you have a good teacher. They're really going to teach you the fundamentals of the practice, which are super important. There's Ashtanga practice as well, which is like very similar to a flow class. It's kind of where flow derives its essence from Ashtanga. But Ashtanga is like a very specific sequence, and you're holding each pose for 5 full breaths. So a lot of concentration, a lot of patience, a lot of strength, and it has a lot of power in it too. So whatever class you choose, or whatever yoga you just show up. Just start somewhere and see where it takes you, because it's a journey like anything else. It's not about you're trying to reach some sort of goal. It's just about showing up, keeping a foot on the path, and continually doing the best you can. So yeah, what about a good teacher, a good studio? Well, a good studio is going to have, a different kind of classes, beginner classes, intermediate, maybe an advanced class. Hopefully they offer some sort of like meditation or pranayama practices, that part of the studio. And a good clean studio. It's, I don't like tap into some weird culty vibe, like that's just, if you're feeling you're always being kind of sold, and every business is for profit unless you're a non-for-profit, but you're still, need to make some money. The studios need to make money too. But if you're always feeling like you're being sold on this, that, and the other thing, then maybe rethink and go to another studio. It should be really a community. A good teacher, is going to encourage you, not shame you. They're going to help you instead of, trying to, make you feel like less than or like a power over kind of situation. A good teacher is going to, like I said, encourage you to do the best you can. It's also a good teacher is going to challenge you to go a little bit further, to stay in the arena of discomfort and see who you are and see how you can transcend that discomfort by deepening the practice, finding more breath, and just keep showing up even within the pose, within the sequence, within the practice. And things that kind of pet peeves of teachers, like they're always trying to show off their physical practice, like, oh, look what I can do, look at this pose, look at this handstand. Like another thing, the really thing, I guess what I'm trying to say here, teachers that are always trying to show you how impressive they are, like whether it's the physical pose or whether it's their fancy language or the poetic nature in which they continually speak about, these different concepts of mind-body connection, and, so watch out for those teachers, because like, who is that really about? It's about them, right? And if you don't feel like the practice is about you, then, do what you got to do to continually get to your practice, or maybe just kind of shelve all that attitude and just keep showing up. Even if you live in an area that only has like one yoga studio and one teacher. Some do's and don'ts for yoga. Show up and do the best you can. Be humble. Use blocks. Use blocks all the time. For beginner and even to my advanced practice, I always use blocks, because it's just what blocks are going to help you to do. It's going to help you to create good contact. If you have good contact, that's going to create good conversation. If you have good conversation, you're going to get good information. But the same is true. Shitty contact, shitty conversation, shitty information, and that's just not going to help anybody. So I would say for effort level, you don't want to always be pushing to a 10 where you're like, going to hurt yourself or straining so hard that, you can't even maintain breath or a mental focus. That would be like a 10. 0 would be like, not showing up or just being lazy and not putting forth any effort, than the very, very bare minimum. I suggest your practice, kind of live in like 6, 7, maybe 8 range, so you're able to continually maintain your breath. It's not so physically demanding that you can't maintain your mind and your breath, but you are challenging yourself while you're sweating. You're able to control your breath even as your heart rate might be a little elevated, or the uncomfortableness that you're experiencing is manageable. So just listen to your body, listen to your mind. It's going to help you to get to know yourself in a very deep way as well. I say continually challenge yourself. Without challenge, there is no change. But when you do challenge, you will change. So be aware of that. Find the breath as a tool to help you to soften and maintain your presence. Right? So always work to find that connection between your breath and your body. It took me as with my yoga practice, it took me like 6 or 7 months to really understand, like, oh, inhale, I'm doing this, exhale, I'm doing that, and then syncing them together, sequencing them together, linking them together. So as I move, it just becomes a dance with my body and my breath. It's really beautiful. But it's going to take some time to get there. Again, if you've never done this before, then be humble, keep showing up, do the best you can, and try not to criticize or judge yourself. Yoga for me, it's helped me in a number of ways. I've become more physically and mentally resilient, so I'm able to bounce back very quickly, on both realms. It's changed my eating habits. Like, I just really like to eat healthy and clean. It's changed me, like, in a lot of ways. Like, I just started after I really got serious with yoga. Maybe it was like 2-3 years later after I really was practicing. It just kind of opened up a door in my subconscious, and it's like I remember just like, I think I just want to start eating more nuts. So I started eating almonds and walnuts and cashews, and they're part of my diet right now. I kind of have naturally cut down all the processed foods. I cut it out like 99% of it. All processed sugar, I'm like another like 99% of it. Even carbohydrates. I don't buy bread anymore. I don't eat bread anymore. There are all the times when I'm like, out of my own element that I do, partake in processed foods, sugar, and, and carbohydrates and pasta and stuff like that. But 99% of the time, I'm staying in my lane and continually feeling good and feeling healthy and eating in a way that my body speaks to me, which has been great. I mean, I just turned 51 in 2023 on December 24th, and people think that I look like I'm 35. So this is thanks to yoga. Also, hydration was a big thing for me. Just staying hydrated was really, really, really important in what that looked like. It helps me to sleep better. Helps me to really protect and honor my sleep. I have a better sleep hygiene as well. And so it's just been, and also I've continually through the yoga practice have been drawn to be more heart-centric, to be more emotionally stable, to live more patiently and peacefully and humbly. Always work in progress. I can still be an arrogant son of a bitch and a controlling, control freak at times, but at least I know I am, and I can make a different choice instead of not knowing these things and not making a new choice at all. So what does my practice look like? I practice for like 10 or 15 minutes in the morning just to open up my body and, get the car running, but also feeding that car. I do pranayama practices every day for like 10, 11 minutes just to really, again, optimize the spirit, optimize the energy. That helps me. And I drop into a meditation for 22 minutes. So, my morning practice is like, 40, 45 minutes of honoring the body, doing the breath work, and sitting in meditation. And see if I can touch samadhi for a day, that deep meditative state of being. It's beautiful. So if you'd like to take a deeper dive into, yoga and what it can look like for you, we did a whole episode, I think it was back in season 3 or 4, with Dan Nevins, who lost both of his legs. I say this like not laughing at him, but laughing at his sheer tenacity and endurance. He became a yoga practitioner, yoga teacher with no legs. Incredible story that he has. So if you want to get more encouraged than the one I've already stated here, I would definitely listen to the episode with Dan Nevins. I'll put it into the show notes so you can listen to it. But hey, we want you to have a kick-ass 2024. We're going to have several different opportunities to do that. We have a retreat coming up in May. Be Well to Lead Well retreat, May 16th to the 19th. So check that out. We already have several people already signed up, so it's probably going to fill out. We're going to go to a castle in Colorado Springs called the Glen Eyrie Castle. So it's going to be quite an event, and we already have, like I said, several people, great people that are already coming to our event. So thank everybody. Have a fantastic 2024. Send me a DM if you need some help, or if you have any questions, you can send me an email as well. I'm at will@mentalkingmindfulness.com. If you want to take a deeper dive down to the old willnotfear.com, which is my own personal site, and dig into more yoga, I have like a couple dozen videos on Vimeo that you can find through willnotfear.com. I work every week. I teach a live yoga class with Movement RX, so you can get plugged in and involved there to continually develop your yoga practice. Much love to you all. Have a great 2024, and we'll see you very soon. And thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sharing Men Talking Mindfulness with your community. Much love. Peace.